It's a what?
It's a kind of hat.
What do you mean it's a kind of hat?
Well,
like, I mean, anything's a hat if you skin it and stick it on your head, right?
That's true. But this one is for, like, when you're out in the snow.
We're in the UK.
Yeah, but what happens if we're in a survival situation? We need to cut down trees.
Right.
We've got to go out into the snow because of the nuclear winter. So I think that's what it means.
1 minute, you skipped a large part of the story, being the Armageddon there, being the...
I mean, there's a bit of Armageddon first. And
how did that start? I mean, did someone press a button by mistake? Are we back in the 1950s, 60s? This is an alternative timeline. What story? Who's the lead? When did you slay that? What's going on?
It's all happened. I can't go into it now because we're in survival mode.
Yes.
And I have to go out and cut down trees.
Right.
To get logs, to make fires and build a wood cabin. And you got one of these, and it covers your ears, covers your head. I'm really bright today. It's like there's heavenly light. But, and then you need this for surviving in the Arctic tundra that is the world because of the nuclear
Well, two things.
Holocaust,
One, no one's accused you of being too bright before. And two, nuclear holocaust things. There'll be plenty of stuff to burn and gas canisters lying around and petrol all over the place that you could set fire. You won't need to go to a forest to cut down some woods. And if it's if you went into the forest to cut down some woods, there might be loads of zombie dogs in there and mutated creatures that'll have your face off. You'll need a gun. You'll need a whole hunting party. It'll be like the Sons of the Rus going across the frozen tundra. The skulls coming back with stories and things.
I hate zombie dogs. I just want to get back to that quickly. Zombie dogs in anything. Like, when I was a young man playing on my PlayStation 1 and I played Resident Evil, the bit that I hated the most was when the dogs jumped through the glass and they're fast and they bark and they're much... A zombie dog is much scarier than a zombie person, I think. I hate them. So hopefully they're not in the woods.
There's not enough zombie animals in the zombie things, is there? Like 28 days later, for example, it affects all the humans, but you got the horses running through the field. That's that long David Fincher slow-mo shot of, look, free, horses free. And occasionally get the odd dog and maybe the odd bear, but there's not enough zombie animals out there. There could be a whole video game or a whole movie there where maybe the animals turn into zombies and the humans stay. Yeah.
You can have zombie bees and stuff because they're small and you can't barricade yourself in if a zombie spider crawls in through a little gap in the ceiling or under the door frame, and it's going to be a fast and aggressive, or it might be a slow one. I'm not sure. That's getting into a whole world of fast zombies, slow zombies. We got to be careful. Anyway, how are you doing? By the way, by the way, this is the STC podcast. I forgot to say that bit. Welcome back to the STC. It's the Storytime cast, and we're here every now and again talking about law and stuff.
It's the Storytime cast. That's what it's called.
That's what it's
I keep forgetting what the STC stands for.
Yes. I shouldn't have called it that, should I? There's so many names waiting in the wings.
Well, sometimes I think it's... I've got STD, but it's STC.
Yeah.
Yes, welcome. Welcome to the story thing, the thing he said.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in. I'm fine. I'm fine. How are you?
And
I'm Winters.
I'm Warsmith Chris. There, we've done the introduction.
Right, yeah.
Done.
Have you played any games recently?
What have I played recently? I've been playing Blood Bowl, actually.
Oh, nice. Classic.
Been playing a lot of Blood Bowl because it's quick and easy. Someone pops round, fancy game of Blood Bowl, and then 4 hours later you're like, this actually isn't a quick game at all. But it feels like it's going to be a quick game. So I've been playing a lot of that.
Are you doing a season?
Not at the moment. We probably will at some point, but There's a few people with the taste for Blood Bowl at the moment.
Blood Bowl really sings if you do a season or two.
Yeah.
With the transfers at the end, that's when it really comes to life. I mean, it's a great game anyway, but if you do, one season you could do between you and friends is only 5 games long, and then immediately go to another. But yeah, it sings then.
Yeah, I've gone for ogres.
Nice.
Which they're considered a low tier team because they're basically you got 5 big ogres punching people and dropping the ball, and everyone else is just noblars, which are basically snotlings. And they can't really do anything, and they fall over and they die. Basically, they actually die when they fall over, things like that. So that's been fun, and I have because it's Orktober.
It is, yes.
I have in a big way resumed my my Blood Axe project. I've completed 10 commandos in the traditional I shouldn't say traditional, I mean in the old school red camo.
Nice.
They were amongst the first metal models for 40k I ever bought.
Right.
To supplement my Goth, my monopose plastic Goths from 2nd edition. And I've always loved them. I didn't really care about mixing clans or anything back then. I was like, commandos are cool. I've got some mega knobs on the old painting handle at the moment.
You can't have too many knobs.
You definitely can't have too many knobs. But yeah, I'm prepping a bit of orcs.
Nice.
For some fun. I think they're a fun project.
My project next to me is 1 minute. I just finished the thing. Like Den of Imagination sent through. Like we've had some of the Chaos Knights that they've done before, but I didn't actually have enough Chaos Knights to field a whole Chaos Knights army, because Chaos Knights are like Knights but not as dirty. They don't all have a 6-up and bin, feel no pain. They don't all re-roll the re-rolls. So they're like Knights on hard mode. And so they sent me a third one, and I do the bases on them, so that, and it's all like it's Den, so it's all magnetized.
Yeah.
All the things. And the idea is there's a I'm playing them this weekend. I need to do another video as well beforehand, sort of celebrating the Chaos Knight painting that Den does, which is awesome. But also I want to, in their video, it's not like, hey, here's a video, look at Den, it's great. But it also, while I'm making videos like that, like I did the Horus one and I did the Norn Queen Alexis one, it I get out the rules and have a look through and have a conversation with the community about, hey, what works, and this is what I'm thinking of doing, and this is where I think it's weak, and what do you think? And then skimming through the comment section afterwards to help me play the game better before the game comes out. So that's what I'm doing.
Nice. Have you come up with an idea for your Chaos Knight household?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, so the bases are matched to the End of All Things. That's why I asked them not to do the base, so I can put them in amongst the End of All Things, and they're all green and nurgly, and they've got the nurgly, smelly symbols on and things.
Yeah. So they are going to be pledged to Nurgle, and they will be an accompanying force to the end.
Yes. I'm not sure that that's a thing anymore, because the 10th edition thing has gone away from everything being attached to a thing.
Yeah. I meant more narratively. They're attached to them. Quick interjection here. I know there was a number of people talking about us having a game and things like that. And whilst you mentioned the End of All Things, we did have a game.
Yes,
we did have a game. Yeah, but it was very unfortunately timed. So we did a game with Death Guard 0.0.
Yeah,
right, and then a few days later, there was a big change.
They literally changed the things.
They changed the things big time.
Yeah.
Now, funnily enough, the week after that, I played against New Death Guard, and it was a very, very, very different experience. Very different. So when we played, we had a great game. There's lots of laughs in there and stuff, and you'll never know. It's lost for all time because it was out of date by the time we finished up.
Thanks for coming all the way up and everything. It was good to see you. First time I'd seen you in the flesh pre-COVID. So nice to meet you again.
We do have something in the diary again for.
Do we?
I can't remember what it is. Yeah, I think it's in December. So
we do.
There will
I can
be.
See it.
You'll see something. We will have a game someday because everyone wants to see an STC game, right?
Yeah.
All the banter. He called me some names, and I'm gonna save the names because he might call me them again. And it was great. We had a great time. But yeah, Death Guard surely did change. And I tell you what, the second time I fought them, felt really bad. Actually, felt really bad because I played Black Templars,
right?
And all of a sudden, with all their shenanigans and stuff, my Black Templars, who were charging in with big crusade squads, ready to do like 500 attacks, hitting on 3s or 2s if I'm lucky, and wounding on whatever, now became hitting on 5s in certain instances.
Yeah.
And then wounding on 5s, like normally wounding on 5s, unless I had, except for the special weapons and the units and power weapons and stuff. And I was like, this is hard. So what ended up happening was we got into real slugfests,
right?
Where which I guess is the point of Death Guard, right? But it's one of the, for those not in the know, they now have special Uber contagions that they can do, and one of them is -1 weapon skill and ballistic skill, aura, which is very gross, and there's other ones as well. But I think a lot of people are going to pick that one when they're facing certain opponents.
Well, I did the -1 weapon skill, ballistic skill one once, but it's too much of it feels bad. So I go with I think all the other ones I played were the -1, because you get -1 toughness in contagions anyway, but -1 toughness and -1 armor save. That feels less of a feels bad to me.
Yeah, because at least then you can give as good as you get. But with the -1 weapon skill, and then you activate things like Cloud of Flies and things like that. It can get very obnoxious very quickly. Yeah, I don't want to see other armies not slaughter stuff because of stuff that I do, other than the tactical genius that I might decide to lay down. You know? Yeah, if you can blunt them with positioning and things like that, it's all fair cop, right?
Yeah.
But if you're near my guys, you can't hit anymore. And it's like, well, what should I do then? Throw rocks? I think Black Templars was a real baptism of fire for this particular one as well, because it was like they don't have a great deal of shooting. You can't stand back with bolt guns, because obviously I give all my Crusaders chainswords and bolt pistols and stuff. There's a few power fists and stuff in there, and the Sword Brethren have got their power swords and things. But despite that, they still held their own, but they just weren't killing stuff. So it's very, very different kind of game. One where you'd expect the melee army to crash into the enemy army, and where I've successfully got my charges off, there's going to be devastation, and where I haven't, I'm going to get shot to bits. Yeah. Because Death Guard don't have a massive output of damage, it just became like no one was really doing a great deal to each other. So it was interesting. Okay. I've got an outside question. I want to field a quick outside question.
Outside? My feet did touch grass recently. What do you want to... What?
So I was having a chat with someone earlier about Tyranids, and they asked me, to them, am the person who should know all the stuff about 40k, right? Because they don't.
But you do, though.
I do know all the stuff about 40k.
You do.
Apart from
this one thing.
What does a Norn Queen... I mean, I've got my ideas. What does a Norn Queen actually look like? Is it a giant swollen thing that's just pumping out STL? It's just 3D printing biomass all the time.
Probably.
What do they look like?
In the Hive Fleet. On the big, the Hive Fleet. So you could imagine that, well, everyone knows that Tyranids with the synapse, it's basically like a massive brain, all the way down from the little termagants and neurogants up to the bigger creatures, and then bigger creatures, then bigger creatures, and they're one big organism, right? And if you get cut off from the synapse link, they stumble around, go down the pub, drink too much, wake up in a pile of vomit in the gutter in the morning. They're no good to anyone.
Right.
Yes. But essentially it's one hive mind, and then inside each hive fleet you have the Norn Queen. The only one that I've heard partially described is in the Uriel Ventris book 2. It was a trilogy, but I think he's up to about 5 books. Graham McNeil, Uriel Ventris, check it out. Very good. Book 2 is the best. There's been many high fleet invasions of planets, devastation of Baal being the most recent one that comes to mind, but he did it first and he did it best. I think it's his invasion of that planet. It's really well done. And so the Norn Queens are like the queen ant or the queen bee trapped in the center of the hive that can never escape, and is the central brain mass, the central thing pumping up lots of little babies.
So it must be a huge swollen bodied thing, right? Yeah. So we can imagine some kind of tyrannid chlory thing with a big chunky body piping out things. In one sense, in a metaphoric sense, the Norn Queen is the hive mind, is the fleet, the whole fleet itself, is all the biomass and biomatter and all. Yet there's a poetry in it somewhere there. Yeah. I mean, where does she end and the individual monsters begin? Maybe they're all just one thing. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go, Josh. That's what a Norn Queen is. When I failed to describe it, I even went on Google Images and was like, hang on a minute, have we ever seen an illustration of one? And no, it's generally like fan art there. Yeah. And everyone's kind of got the same rough idea. It's some big gribbly part with some kind of body part. But yeah, maybe one day we'll meet a Norn Queen in the maybe writings. If they can actually leave the hive and come out and fight. I doubt it. Well, someone might get to one. Someone might get to one. There's also the Games Workshop, Black Library / lore part of the whole question. Like, what is a Norn Queen? I don't think Black Library or Warhammer know 100% themselves. And apart from that, you've got what the Inquisitors say and the Space Marines say and the unreliable narrator. So there have been, I forget where it was, but a particular source where an Inquisitor was supposed to be going from X to Y with a band of hardy fellows, and off they go into the nuclear apocalyptic wasteland, cutting down woods in the trees, dodging the zombie bees to kill a Norn Queen. What they thought was a Norn Queen, and it was referred to as but it's not, but maybe. Okay. So the unreliable narrator. What one Space Marine says is a Norn Queen might be different to a planetary governor, might be different from Guilliman, but old law, established law is it's the centre of the hive. Okay, and you can guess by the name Norn Queen, it's going to be assigned to something that is leading the group, as it were. Another quick question. Yes. Now we've discussed Norn Queens. I put sorry. I put some cream on it. It went away. Is that what you were going to ask? I was going to ask that. Yeah. So I've actually got another question as well. Oh, okay. But I'm feeling. Just reminded me of. Yeah, it's like much less tender than it was. Yeah. I can put. It's fine. When I squeezed it, right, you acted like it was completely numb. Well, that's why I was playing Death Guard that day. I was like, hey, have a look at this. Yeah. Because ease me into it. Yeah. Yeah. I was feeling particularly rotten that day. Yeah. But it kept coming out and coming out and coming out, didn't it, after you squeezed it? It was everywhere. And it stank. Yeah, it was very pungent. Yeah, but I put some cream on it. It's gone down now. I'm recovering actually from a I don't know what I've got. I think COVID's going round again. Did it ever go away? It never went away. It's a bit like a bit like the Eagles. They never really went away. Did they? They're around everywhere. Every now and then you walk into a supermarket and you'll hear Hotel California or something. They're there forever. Yeah. Yeah. This is a Black Library question. Oh. Did you read Brutal Cunning? No. Question's nearly over then, because there's a second book by Mike Brooks called War Boss has recently come out. I might have read Brutal Cunning. I've read a couple of Orc books, but I'm pretty certain that's one I haven't read. Brutal Cunning's the Bad Moons, and they go to a Forge world, and there's lots of AdMech stuff going on. And the AdMech stuff's really good. I think I read that one. I think I did. Yeah, it's a while ago. Okay. Well, I was going to ask you if you've read War Boss.
No.
Which is the follow-up to it. It sounds very good. It's about the clans, and each of them thinks that they should lead the war. Or each of them has a war boss who thinks they should lead the war. And the Blood X's have someone called the General. And then there's obviously representatives of the other clans as well.
Okay, I'm currently making my way through Blood of the Emperor, which is an anthology, a Primarch's novels anthology.
Okay.
That's what I'm currently on right now. I had to check there to see what it was.
Are you reading that with eyes or listening with ears?
No, I read and listen. So that's on the Kindle for the Audible. That's on the Audible for with painting stuff. Yeah. But the ones that I really like, I get in book form as well and read and Audible because I'm that guy.
Wow. So, I still haven't finished the Andy Serkis Lord of the Rings trilogy. I'm about 50% of the way through. I listen to it every night. No, I listen to it every night.
Right.
It's taken me this long.
Right.
Because the chapters are, a lot of the chapters are more than half an hour.
Yeah.
What happens is I kind of tend to fall asleep, then I have to go back 20 minutes. So I'm making like 10-minute progress at a time. Brilliant. But I am halfway through Return of the King. So I'm nearly there.
Ace.
And I've talked about this several podcast episodes ago. I still think it is one of the best narration performances or book reading performances of all time. It is Andy Serkis is so good.
Right.
If you haven't, it doesn't matter how many times you've read, watched it, and consumed the story of Lord of the Rings. If you haven't consumed Andy Serkis' rendition of all the characters and the story, you've got to do it because it is a triumph for audiobooks. A triumph!
Yes, a triumph! That's high praise indeed. Does it beat Jonathan Keeble and Toby Longworth?
By 1,000 miles. I love both those guys. But Andy Serkis is obviously a cut above. He's very famous for his character acting and his ability to do different voices and things like that. And he has a clear passion for the characters. He even remembers all his different orc voices, and they all have subtle differences in their voices, and they are performed in voices that require a lot of skill.
Okay.
So you might think, you hear people doing a gruff orc voice. He does some real crazy stuff vocally on it. So, and you wouldn't even know it was Andy Serkis. Honestly, you wouldn't have a clue. Because he can do a real mean monster voice. He does, however, do a lot of singing.
Right.
Which, that's probably the only downside, is that he does a lot of singing.
That's Lord of the Rings. There's singing and poetry in it.
Yeah, a lot of songs. Yeah. He kind of has, I don't know if there's any guidance out there. I don't think Tolkien wrote sheet music to accompany all of his little songs and poems.
I don't think so.
So they all follow a very similar sound, which kind of, it's to the musically inclined. Let's just say there's no musical resolution to the way he goes. Like, you're expecting certain combinations of notes and stuff and things to resolve musically, and they don't. They just keep changing and going off, and then it ends, and you're like, oh.
Can I drop a little bit of Warhammer in there?
You drop it in.
Okay. What's the connection between Tolkien and Warhammer? The connection is when he was coming to publish his book, his masterpiece, not The Hobbit, but Lord of the Rings, he it was published anyway. Basically, the illustrations, the pictures, the orcs, the things, there's a book with a bunch of illustrations, blah blah blah, and he invited round 6 or 7 artists, young up and coming artists, to, like, what does an orc look like? What do their weapons look like? What does this? I mean, we know what a hobbit hole looks like because that's described, but many of the things that we take for granted now,
you don't see.
Didn't describe them 100%, and he brought round a bunch of up and coming artists to help illustrate either the OG book or the second book or something. It was something connected with either the first book or the second book. And amongst the young and up and coming artists of the 6 or 7, the fellowship, as you were, John Blanche was there.
Wow.
And John Blanche drew some of the first illustrations of Orky bits, Elvie bits, Dwarven shields. You know, like the swords with the spit at the end, which kind of like a cleaver, kind of like a... This all came out of the artist's imagination, people like John Blanche.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why he's a G. And we were
Absolutely.
lucky to have him help
Yeah.
pave the way for the Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40k.
Well, let's be honest, through that, it's not just Warhammer Fantasy, is it? It's like all fantasy everywhere. Post that is based on these kind of archetypes of orcs and elves and what they look like, because elves in folklore were little guys.
Yeah.
And now in fantasy, everyone knows an elf is a tall, skinny, beautiful, handsome thing.
Yep.
And everyone really kind of knows what an orc is, and orcs have never really changed that much. They get different variations, but they don't change that much. And you're right, in the books, the descriptions of orcs, you get kind of descriptions, nothing, I don't think anything explicitly says what colour skin they have. And I recall, actually, a couple of nights ago, Shagrat is described as having an evil face. I think is Sam witnesses that says that he has an evil face and his features are blah blah blah. And if you were to have no reference point at all for an orc, you'd assume that he was just like a horrible looking human. Yeah, presumably.
Yeah.
So that's incredible. It is incredible, and it's shaped everything, and it shaped nerds who grew up on fantasy and sci-fi. I mean, well, John Blanche is... Should we just talk about him for the rest of the thing?
We can if you want to. Legend.
Like, how much?
Yeah.
Bit John Blanche, bit 2000 AD.
It's how lucky we are to have him. It's other things like Dan Abnett. Dan Abnett, not a lot of people know, but he was very big and still is very big in writing comics in the comic scene and comic industry. Guardians of the Galaxy, the first movie. He's got screenwriting credit on that because he helped write the screenplay to that as well, because he was a big comic book. So he's a Hollywood screenwriter as well as comic writer as well as book writer as well as this. And in 40k there's so many corners and colours that Games Workshop haven't filled in that rely on the artists. And in this case, Dan, like the word Voxcast. Vox is Dan Abnett. IO Sticks. There's so many words he brought into 40k and the codexes and the main rules that just came straight out of his brain. And the other artists. It's what the greatest things to come out of Games Workshop, apart from the models, the best medal making company, and all the colour that is bred life into the universes, be it fantasy or sci-fi worlds of Warhammer, all comes out of these genius creators that honestly we're lucky to have as connected to and as part of the hobby. Yeah,
and the fact that there are so many people who, whether they want to admit it or not, have a lifestyle that is somewhat heavily influenced or based around, or friendship groups and communities based around these made up things. If you can make up something, if you can imagine something so rich that people like, I mean, you're in your 70s, 80s now.
Yeah.
So from childhood back in the 1600s, whenever it was, that it's stayed with you all this time. How many other things can captivate people like that? Yeah. We have nostalgia for things. We go, I really liked... I watched Conan the Barbarian so many times when I was a kid that it's like I love Conan the Barbarian, and then I read the books when I was a bit older and stuff. But I don't spend every day sat at my desk painting Conan the Barbarian. It hasn't.
No.
Nothing has hooked me in so much as this.
Yeah.
We actually have a question which we might have answered before.
Oh.
But this reminded me of a question that leads right into that, because
sure.
I'm going to find it here because obviously I'm very well prepared. But someone...
Not normally.
Someone did ask.
We're all very creative people in this hobby. I mean, ultimately, whether you're a gamer, a painter, a reader, whatever you are, there's something about this community that we're imaginative people. We're creative folks.
Yeah, because you have to experience a lot of what Warhammer has to offer. Whether you even if you're just painting, you have to experience it in your mind. You have to, these pieces represent the battles, but what we do is the battle. What we do is the event.
Or even if you don't play, just picking up a model and painting it and enjoying the painting of it. It's like, there's different personalities are drawn to. The people who like putting stuff together, they end up racing cars or going to Audi meets or something like that. People who like helping other people end up in care and teaching or whatever. And our group, our tribe, is all about the fantastical and the imaginative, and I love that. Love meeting people like that. Love the influences that have come into the hobby, and it's just it's fertile ground for the imaginative type. So, just thought it was worth pointing out.
Yeah, we get nice and reminiscent these days, don't we?
Yeah,
it's a few times we've had a nice little reminiscing journey. I like it. Hazza 2110 Thunder.
Yes.
Said, how did you get into the hobby and what was your first army? Now, I know throughout millions of things in the past, we've probably all mentioned this kind of thing. But might as well give it a recap for people that have joined us here.
Quick recap. 1984. While looking for local, trying to find comic books other than Judge Dredd or lots of Marvel I was reading back then, saw White Dwarfs, saw pictures of White Dwarf. White Dwarf was different then as well. It wasn't just a passenger piece for Games Workshop. It had lots of other hobby materials in there and other companies and D&D and blah blah blah. Saw that, I think that's the first few miniatures that I saw, and then at the back of a store in Swindon one day, tucked way in the corner, amongst the model planes and the tanks and all of those things that you get, the other part of our hobby, which is reenactment stuff. I found some lead miniatures and things and started collecting them and trying to paint some of them quite badly. Then they didn't have Games Workshop. Well, there was a couple of Games Workshops back then, but then they had, I think it was like approved stockists or something, and then one opened up on a street not too by in the centre of town. Went there a few times and was getting into it quite heavily. Was playing role playing back then, D&D, other systems. I did Warhammer Fantasy roleplay. Death on the Reich was awesome. And then in 1986 Warhammer 40k came out, and started collecting and playing that as well. That's how I got into the hobby. I didn't really start collecting 40k. Started playing loads of other games, Dark Future, Blood Bowl, Talisman. Tried 40k. Everyone tried 40k first and second edition, but it was almost impossible to play. Second edition was more. Anyway, it was hard to play, very hard to play. Epic, played loads of Epic, played loads of Space Hulk, and I was always in the hobby, always collecting, always there. But it was 4th edition where I said, right, sod it, let's get an army, let's start playing, and that was Space Marines, and that was the 13th.
There we go.
That was my first army.
Proper army was the 13th as well.
First proper army was skeletons and goblins, Warhammer Fantasy.
Fantasy, yeah.
But I didn't really play it well or play it by the... A lot of kids...
No one did.
Yeah, no one did. I mean, there's kids watching this, maybe, who are 10, 11, 12, and they play versions of the rules.
Yeah, you play what you get, what you can figure out, and the rest of it is open to interpretation, as long as you've lined up lots of cool models. I keep going out of focus. As long as you've lined up loads of cool models, you're... No, it doesn't want to focus on me. All right, I'll just be blurry. Just imagine you're drunk. Yeah, as long as you've lined up all your cool models, you're having a great time, aren't you?
Yeah.
So in 1984...
Yeah.
I was born. That's when I was born. Yeah. So
I can remember it quite clearly, actually. I can remember it quite clearly. Probably because people have asked me that question a few times, so I've had to... Yeah.
Yeah. My simple one, I must have said this several times on different podcasts, but it was 2nd edition. So 2nd edition in my school, it was first school. I don't know how old we were. Maybe 93. When did the second edition come out? Was it 93, 94?
I want to say 90. I'm not sure.
Oh, 90. Whenever. Anyway, around that age, 93, everyone was really into it. Second edition was the only edition available at that time. And I got it for Christmas because I went to a friend's house and they had painted all their Space Marines from that box set as Ultramarines. And I think the first time you see a collection of miniatures painted, it blows you away. And that was it. Got the second edition box set, got loads of mini Marines, got loads of orcs, got my cardboard cutout Dread. Would go to Games Workshop whenever I had a bit of money, and back then everything was in blister packs, right? We didn't need to have all these, have to buy 20 guys at once or 10 guys at once. There were plastics, but it wasn't as common.
Space Marine plastic was plastic, the basic Space Marine sprue. My first 40k army would have been epic, Adeptus Titanicus as it was back then, to collect and to paint up. That was cool. I had a friend who had Eldar, and another friend who had orcs, played them semi-regularly off and on for a couple of years.
So but I too drifted to fantasy, so I had bits and pieces of 40k, and then I had a Skaven army, and a Wood Elf army eventually as well. And if you've seen what do they call him on here, do they call him Bad Boy Bananarama, or that guy, or
Joey Banner?
Joey Banner,
that guy.
When we were about, I don't know, 13, 14, for one of my birthdays, he brought his big Chaos Dwarf army around. I had my Skaven, and then another person brought dwarves, another person brought undead, another person brought dark elves, and we basically put like 10 armies on one dining room table and just had this huge battle. I had no idea whether anything we rolled was from a rule book. Some of it probably was, some of it wasn't, and that's how we used to play as well. Fantasy, just
I remember doing
stuff on the table, and
massive battles that would take all weekend.
And you didn't care, you spent all weekend playing.
I remember doing my first 40,000 point 40k game, and that took two days, and I think we got 3 turns in. And you don't really care when you're a kid. You don't get tired, you don't get the brain mulch. It's exciting the whole time. And it's just like, but that's how it was. So my first armies were, my first coherent army was a Crimson Fist army, which is now reborn in Sultan's Crimson Fist army. So then I got Dark Eldar, then took a break, and then I came back with Iron Warriors. So there we go. And now you're on the Black Templars.
Done the Black Templars. I've got them all painted up. They're done.
Right.
Locked in. Necrons locked in. Got about 3,000 points of Necrons.
Yep.
Got about 2,500 points of Black Templars painted this year. All done. I've got 2,500 points of Death Guard locked in. They've been in. We've fought together side by side.
Nice.
I've got 2,000-ish points of Tau, almost fully painted, not painted.
Okay.
Now I'm doing all. So I've got loads of armies now. This year has been a huge hobby burst for me.
Good.
I had a bit of a reputation over the last few years of not finishing armies, and I've just gone for it and painted so many things. I've painted 2 Blood Bowl teams. I've painted minis for other game systems. I've painted a full Black Templars army. I've painted a full Tau army. Well,
you've got to use your time wisely to do these things now, because next year you'll be a father for the first time and you'll have no time whatsoever. And vomit down your shirt all the time.
Part of me is probably thinking, let's get all these armies in so I can escape and play with them, because I'm definitely not going to be painting them.
No, I've met quite a few. I don't have kids, and a lot of my friends, I've gone through the process of them having their first kids. And I noticed that people who have their children, the first children, they often smell of poo, wee, or vomit.
I imagine
they do.
That would be the case. So
nearly constantly.
So if you see, if I knock, if in the middle of the night I'm knocking at the door going, please can we play a Warhammer, and I stink of vomit and urine and poop, you'll know what happened.
I'll be like, you smell like that all the time. Come in.
Come in.
I'm used to it. It's a Tuesday for you.
Anyway, that was the age-old question. I don't think we're going to answer that one ever again. But we've all answered it a million times. But it is something that's interesting to know about people. I tell you what, as well, this is test one, because I don't want to when we put at the end of the podcast,
right,
let us know if you've got your brick.
Yes.
Let us know if you made it all the way through.
People did last time.
They did,
yeah.
So we're at the 40-minute mark now. Right. So we won't do it at the end. We'll do it now. If you've made it this far and you're actually watching the whole thing, let's have everyone's first armies.
Oh, not even if you're watching it, but if you're listening to this while you're painting away, thinking, will they get onto my question that I asked in the Discord? Because what you can do in the STC is come to the Winters SEO Discord, become a tier 2 channel member, but even better than that, become a tier 3 channel member, because that unlocks the Discord as well. It's only £1 more, and you get an extra battle report every single Winters Wednesday, and join this wonderful community. And there's going to be a lot of people listening to this while painting away, and if you're there, then write in the comment section now, I made it to the 40-minute mark. It was a slog, it was a chore, it was horrible, but I made it to the 40-minute mark. Let us know that you're still here.
And as well as that,
what?
First army, please.
Oh, okay.
This is information I'm requesting.
Stipulations now. Ooh.
First army, and we'll just I'll just pull it up a little bit.
Any game system, just what was your first full army? I like it, yeah.
What was your first full army? And, you know, if you're part of the 1984 crew, just give me a little 100 emoji. And I'll
was that born in 84?
Yeah, if you were born in 84, because 1984 was a very famous year.
It was a good year.
People that come out of that year, you know, they've written books about it. It was so good. People that have been born in that year are generally just quite cool people. So,
are they?
Yeah, and we're all 39, on the brink of 40. It's awesome.
My sweet summer child, you have no idea.
I know.
No idea. Most of your body still works. You can mostly see, mostly hear, and mostly sleep through most of the night. You lucky bastard.
Yeah. I do need to pee more often these days.
Right, okay.
Yeah, that's starting. I think that gets worse and worse.
I just keep a bucket. There's one there right now. Just keep it around with you whenever you sat down.
Oh, that's such a beautiful thought. Right. Should we get on to some questions?
Let's get on to some questions. Ask them in the Discord, the thing. I want to say thank you to, because this is the first time we've recorded since the March of Winters event. So thank you to Element Games for hosting me, and James from marchofwar.co.uk. We came together in a partnership to do a one-day event away at Element Games in Manchester. There's a link in all the video descriptions below. Buy stuff through Element Games, click on that link, bookmark it, and then it helps me, it helps the channel, because you get extra crystals if you use the code WIN13, and then I get extra crystals if you use the code WIN13 through that link, and that's how I am able to get as much free stuff as I can from Element Games, or discount stuff as I can from Element Games. So thanks to them, 90 people in a room together, 3 funny missions. We had a lot of sweats, we had a lot of fun. We had some food, there was some laughter, people caught a cat, people went down Winter's wormhole. It wasn't a tournament. We did give a prize away to the first place player, but we also gave a prize away to the last placed player as well. Yeah. So it was really good. The Element staff said that we were really well behaved, which was terrible. Wow. Next time we must cause a complete ruckus. Yeah. There was a group of painters in the corner as well, because the Element Hall's massive, right? And then down in the corner next to the bar, there was about 20 painters down there trying to do something. I don't know what they were doing, but they were very well behaved as well, and quiet. And every now and then I'd stand up on a chair and shout and say some things like, "White, mission 2. Now we're going to do..." I didn't sit down for the whole event and walked around all the hall all the time, tried to chat to every single person in the hall, and I think every single person who chatted to me said they had a lovely time. Good. And did the selfie things and did all that sort of stuff, and it was great, and we're looking forward to going back and doing it again next year and the year after next year. And
I will come to the next one. How about that?
Nice. That would be
fun,
epic.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, come up.
As someone who's...
Sultan was there, Brapscallion was there, Morden John was there, there was a couple of... Yeah.
As someone who's done a bunch of events with you, I would describe you as high energy at events. Very high energy, actually. A lot higher energy than the than the younger lads kicking about.
What I do is I'm excited to be there. There's a bunch of people in the hall that wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the channel, wasn't for their support, and wasn't for the stuff. So I'm just feeding off of their energy, and I'd just start a run and keep going. I didn't sit down for the whole thing. There was a person who flew in all the way from Germany to be at the event, a person who flew in all the way from Switzerland to be at the event. Nice. Sorry, I can't remember your names if I'm watching this because I heard Swiss so many names. Swiss guy and German guy, they were both absolutely lovely. But yeah, it just blows me away that people would fly in from another country to come here to play at one of my events and meet me and say hello and take a selfie and stuff. And he bought me a beer as well there.
Nice.
So yeah,
that's how to win someone's heart, isn't it? Buy a beer.
But yeah, high energy is the way to go. I want to make sure that everyone is having as much fun as possible. And if they have any questions, come and get me. There are a couple of tables left over for general public to come in and play. And I was pulled away as a TO to answer more of their questions about rules interactions than I were to everyone who was coming along to the community event. And a bunch of people that had been their first game or only their second game of 10th edition, and some of the armies there as well, were absolutely stunning. Just beautiful works of art. It's so good to see. So good to see.
Yeah. So John Luke, if you're watching this, we're going to ask you a question now. Okay. Then you're going to rewind 5 minutes. You're going to listen to Winter say that again, and then he's essentially answered your question. So John Luke says, "We need a March of Winters recap. Tell us about the cat." So rewind now, and then we just answered the question.
The last mission was called Line Breaker. We were grabbing objectives, and you had to get a unit to the other side of the table, which meant you had to also stop your opponent's unit coming to the other side of the table. Nice and simple, one for the end of the game day, because the first couple of missions were a bit brain melting or weird. So I wanted a simple one at the beginning and a simple one at the end. The one at the beginning was called Cat Catcher. So your war boss's war boss or the High Lord Commissar or blah, had sent you, pick an army, Warsmith Chris.
Orcs.
So I'd go around at the beginning of the thing. I told everyone, this is the mission that we're playing. This is why we're playing it. Here's the things. Here's all the stuff. And then I went around all the table to talk to all the people. And I'd grab the orc player like yourself. Warsmith, your war boss's war boss collects cats.
Oh.
Gazgul Thrucker took a bolt gun shell to the brain, and now he suddenly thinks he's a god and prophet of the war. But your war boss's took a bolt gun, and he loves cats. He's got hundreds of cats. The milk, he feeds them. And if anyone, anywhere, because mainly cats don't survive long in the grim darkness of the far future, finds a cat and brings it back to the war boss, he will be given a big new shiny shooter. So you're going to catch this cat. And the way it worked is... Yeah, D6 points if you had the cat at the end of the game. D6. Nice. The other thing is, you probably think catching the cat is a bit silly and ridiculous, but then there's your opponent over there. Your nemesis is also trying to catch this cat for some reason, and I'll tell them the reason too. So you think catching the cat is ridiculous, but what you want to do is kill the warlord while you're at it. And you also don't want to suffer too many losses while you're at it as well, catching a cat. So it was D6 points for catching the cat, D6 points for killing the warlord, and D6 points for having most units left alive at the end of the game. So someone could have all three of these and still lose to someone who had two of them because their D6 rolls were better.
Oh, okay.
So it came down... Yeah. So it came down to the last dice rolls, and I have some stories about some of the last dice rolls. And I watched some of the last dice rolls play out in front of me, and some hopes were lifted and some dreams were crushed. And I love those last dice. And the reason why I also put it down to D6 for having more units left alive is because I wanted to have a better chance of rewarding people who brought mixed normal armies as opposed to some people who brought like 3 Gorkanauts or 4 big bugs or whatever it might be. The people who brought actually 8 or 9 units in a 1,000-point game, they had more likely a chance of getting that D6 points, particularly if they were going up against 3 Gorkanauts, so that could crush them quite easily. So we did that. But when you caught the cat, or if you had the cat in any of your command phases, you rolled a dice. Okay. And on a 1, the cat did a mortal wound to you and ran off and hid in the nearest terrain.
Yep.
And in a 2 or 3, the cat ran off to the closest enemy unit. And then the closest enemy unit then had to roll a dice, because on a 2-3, the cat could run back to the other unit. And we had sometimes, I watched the cat go bing, 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 bing. On a 4/5, you grab the cat, and on a 6, you grab the cat, and you can put 9 lives. Lucky cat. You could put a destroyed model, if you had a unit with more than one model in it, a destroyed model back in that unit.
Nice, okay.
But then you kept playing, and then in your command phase, you roll a dice for a cat. There was a Orc War Boss, for example. No, an Orc Weird Boy came speeding up with his truck. He leapt out of the truck to grab the cat, and the cat ran away into the nearest piece of terrain. So he jumped to the cat to grab the cat, and then the cat ran across and then joined his opponent's army instead. And then the Weird Boy was stood there and got shot and got blasted because he's trying to catch this cat.
He's trying to catch a cat.
Little stories like that all the time.
Yeah, that whole
catcher
cat scenario is the most Winters thing I've ever heard in a game of 40k. It screams something that you do. I love that.
Yeah.
Was it inspired by P90? Was it? Were you looking at cats at the time, or?
I was mainly thinking about you, like trying to catch you. Imagine if you were shaved and head to toe in Vaseline. Catching you would be like catching a slippery cat. How could a cat? Cat catching, cat herding, things like just pops. It was an idea. So the second game that we did was Winter's Wormhole, which was the battle report. We did the 4-way Hobby Apocalypse battle report a couple of months ago. It came up on YouTube with the boys in the room, and that was Winter's Wormhole. I did that for Mission 2 with a little twist to it, but that was in Mission 2. And while I was thinking up ridiculous things to do to the boys for that one, that's where the genesis of Cat Catcher sunk in. So it's mainly me thinking about ways of screwing over either Sultan or the boys for when we play Warhammer 40k. And having fun games of Warhammer 40k, because the event wasn't a tournament, it was about people coming together in the room, rolling dice and having dice. And all the missions were down to the last dice roll as well. You had to play it and then roll the dice at the end of the day to see who won it and lost. For those highs and lows, for those cheers and not cheers. There were cheers. At the end of mission 1, 5, 6, you'd hear some cheers go up around the room, one over there, and then 5 minutes later, one over there as different things happened. It was glorious.
Sounds absolutely amazing. I look forward to seeing what you have in store for the next one.
And the next one will be equally ridiculous, yes. Yeah. So I'd love it if you come along. I think you'd have a great time.
I'm sure I will, and I'm sure I would, and I'm sure I'll be desperate to attend an event by that time as well. So it'll be fantastic. Right, let's get on with some of these other questions, shall we?
Go on then, hit me, baby, one more time.
My loneliness, it's killing me.
Hey now,
I'm a I still believe. Brilliant, man. We're so in sync. It's like we're finishing each other's. I said it's like we're finishing each other's.
Talkie.
Yeah. Just skip. We could edit that out. Edit that. Right. Okay. Questions.
We're going to start with some light questions. Simply Warhammer.
Asks.
Simply Warhammer simply asks.
Check out Simply Warhammer YouTube channel for quick 5-minute or less Warhammer hobby video related content.
Simply Warhammer. Yeah. Did the Emperor know that Alfarius was a twin? There's been lots of Alfarius questions recently. People really
This is very interesting. This is a very interesting question, actually, because I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because in the Alfarius book, when he first finds Alfarius and he grabs him and he looks at him, it's actually described from Alfarius' point of view, and he's like he looked into my very soul. And you can imagine the Emperor at that time, shall I kill it or not? Like looking at him. When Omegon appears at the great thing about the Primarch book Alfarius is the very first line in the book is I am Alfarius, and the very last line in the book is I am Omegon.
Yes.
Genius. I'm not entirely convinced that anyone outside of the Alpha Legion knew who Omegon was, and I'm not entirely convinced that most of the Alpha Legion, he was the Omegon. I mean, they are all Alfarius. As John Grammaticus says it, like he talks about the Alfarius. I'll go and talk to the Alfarius. It's not like a person, it's one of the Alfariuses, one of the many heads of the Hydra. And I'm slightly convinced that most of the Alpha Legion just think that Omegon is the Omegon. He's like the role. Omegon is the naysayer. Omegon is the one. In a legion full of lies, you have to somewhat have a figure to call them out on their bullshit from time to time. Otherwise, the snake would just eat its tail. It's a very interesting, logical truism that you need in a legion full of lies. You're going to need a rock, or you're going to need you're going to need that foil in there, or it'll just collapse in on itself.
Yes.
And I'm not convinced that most of the Alpha Legion know who Omegon is. Most of them might think they're the Omegon, and certainly none of the other Primarchs know who Omegon is, and I never refer to him as far as I'm aware. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, but I can't recall any short story, any anthology, or any book where any Primarch knows that there is an Omegon. I mean, Alfarius met all of the other Primarchs, and they didn't know before the Alpha Legion officially announced itself on the world stage. And they announced themselves in 2 different locations at 2 different times. There was one with the Space Wolves, and that's in the Primarch novel, and then there's one with the Dark Angels and the Thramas Crusade, and both are the official first appearances of the Alpha Legion, and they're both at completely different opposite ends of the galaxy and at different times. Suddenly there's this whole legion appear that the other Primarch didn't know. Where did you guys come from? But yeah, I mean, Alfarius describes that of all the Primarchs that he met before they knew he even existed, the Lion was the one that came closest. Not even Russ. The Lion was the one who came closest to sensing something wasn't quite right, and looked at him a bit harder than the other legionaries stood there on parade. Because, well, the Lion and his lies, and also the Lion is the one who's the most closest to the Emperor. He's the Emperor's image. I haven't done Alpha Legion a couple of times and listened to it on the audiobook now. I'm not entirely convinced. I think that's supposed to be a question. Mind you, there are a couple of occasions of the twins in the pod during Amar Astartes things, that there are 2 things in that pod. That's before they're scattered across the galaxy. So maybe there was a design at the beginning to have twin souls in a pod, but whether he knew.
I think as well, it very much fits into the Alpha Legion shtick to have that kind of question looming over it as well, and have that kind of situation occurring with the kind of yin and yang kind of situation, I guess.
Well, like Malkador said, it was trying to teach him to shield his mind, so no one could know what he knew. Alfarius knew, and he said, and Malkador was like, even from me, you need to be able to shield yourself even from me and even from him. He's the hidden hand, the thing that you don't see coming. So, yeah, that's what he was designed to do.
I think it speaks volumes as well that we've had almost every week we have a new Alpha Legion question. It just, it really goes to show that there's a lot there. There's a lot to, and we don't know the solid answers for a lot of things.
No.
Fantastic.
I'm Alfarius. No, I'm Alfarius. Yeah. No, I'm Alfarius, and so's my wife.
So that's the thing is, there is that kind of meme that comes along with it where people says, no, I'm Alfarius. But I think when you read Alfarius, the actual use for that is so much more cool.
Well,
the reason why everyone is Alfarius is cool.
The first line in the Primarch's novel, I am Alfarius.
Yeah.
The second line, that is a lie.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I still haven't finished it either. I really need to finish it because I absolutely loved it, and I love John Grammaticus as well.
Yeah.
But I got sidetracked, so need to go back and finish. Stranger come knocking. Do we think Fenrisian space wolves wear woolly hats, or is it frowned upon? I'll leave that one to you.
That's a brilliant question.
It is
I
a
love
great
it.
question.
Next. That's just genius.
CJ asked an interesting question. So the Emperor's plan was to starve the Chaos Gods of their power by removing faith.
One of the plans.
One of the plans. CJ then says, "Hear me out," because this is
Okay.
going to be a
Okay.
a shot.
Strap yourself in.
Has Fabius Bile become what the Emperor was wanting, as he does not believe in demons and they are weakened around him? When you say does not believe in demons, you mean he's not worshipping demons, I think is what you're trying to say. But I know I get the gist of it.
No, Fabius Bile is not what the Emperor was, yeah.
Well, the Emperor didn't want someone who could who turned Space Marines into slinkies and
yeah, brilliant.
Gobstoppers.
Yeah.
His
story is quite interesting, actually, back at the beginning. Like,
really
the Emperor's children, Legion, their gene seed was destroyed, and they were a dying legion, which is why they spent most of the Crusade hanging out with the Sons of Horus, and why they specialised more and more and more and more on elite strike and fade, hit and run. The perfect app, they would plan and plan and plan and plan and plan, and then the perfect application of force. There were only 300 left by the time they found their Primarch, Fulgrim.
Yeah.
And then you were able to get gene seed from Fulgrim, then you were able to save the Legion. But, yeah. And Fabius Bile, during that time, was doing all he can to try and save and manipulate and stitch together and keep as many Emperor Stewards. So his ministrations and experimentations went back a good 100 years and were necessary. Otherwise, the Legion would have died if it was not for Fabius Bile.
He was just slipping in fun bits, though, wasn't he?
Well, at the end, he started.
Do you want a little magic pipe? How about
Eidolon was the first. Eidolon was the first with the War Singers, and that was sanctioned by Fulgrim himself, and probably wouldn't have been sanctioned by Fulgrim if he hadn't the Blade of the Lair.
That's
so you
true,
can imagine that
Fabius
was probably already knocking on Fulgrim's door a decade before, then a decade before that, then a decade before that, and Fulgrim kept smacking him round the tush, saying, "Go away, don't mess up with the Emperor's gene seed, don't play with the..." And then he started doing it anyway.
Yeah. Naughty boy. I haven't read the... there's several of them now. Is it a trilogy? There's several Fabius Bile novels, which I haven't read yet.
I haven't read them. I'm not a big fan of the Chaos stuff, unless it's really well done. Like the Night Lords trilogy by ADB is 10
I'm
out
not
of 10.
even going to talk about it again, because every time
Everyone
we talk
should
about it, we gush over it.
Everyone should read it. Talon of Horus and Black Legion as well by ADB. Everyone should read them. They're awesome.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And also Lords of Silence as well.
Yeah, it's Black Library, isn't it? The Black Library is very hit and miss. Yeah. When you get a book from Black Library and it's one of the misses for you, it can sink your appreciation. It might be the last book that you read for a couple of months or listen to for a couple of months, because that was terrible.
Yeah, because they are bad when they're bad. And
when
talking
they're
of
bad.
that, actually, this isn't one of the questions, but in the questions thread, I think it was Pickle Nick brought up the old kind of internet opinion about Perturabo being sulky and like a teenager and all this kind of stuff. And I was having a chat with a few people, and it was like, that is from, it's kind of it's a bit of a viral interpretation of what Perturabo's character is like, and also it's kind of little bits of awkward non-consistent writing has kind of left people with that kind of character. But I don't want to go into it now because it's a whole discussion in itself, but there's a lot more about a particular Primarch's personality, and what you should do is kind of, you can tell when something's been not written the best, and you can gather the way that the better writers have written certain aspects of them, and you can kind of form a much better opinion that way, and rather than kind of locking into a bad bit of writing. Because if you were to just go with was it Guy Haley's Gilliman?
What, from the Primarch novel?
No, who wrote the Mortarion trilogy?
Oh, that, yeah, I think it's Guy Hurley. The Indomitus War, Plague War stuff. Yeah.
If you were to go on Mortarion and Gilliman from those, it's not...
Yeah. All the Primarchs are written inconsistently because there's different writers writing them. Some of them, though, are so well established or have some really clear character archetypes that make it less likely that they'll be written inconsistently. So some of them are more consistent than inconsistent. One of the Primarchs had to be the inconsistent one. One of the Primarchs had to win the race for the most inconsistent Primarch, and that is Perturabo. There's a really complex character wrapped up in there. There's basically two Perturabos, two types of Perturabo. I won't go into it, but there's the petty childish one, which everyone knows. Then there's the one that is struggling to... The one that really cares. The one where actually doing something right is that the obsessiveness, because all the Primarchs obsess on something. The idea of making sure it is done. There is a right way to do something and a wrong way to do something. And there's a right way of waging war and a wrong way of waging war. There's a right way of building a thing. That side of thing. And the side of... the more scorned brother who's trying to prove himself not through pettiness but because he's living in amongst other demigods. So I'm good too. Here, look, I made this perpetual walking machine. I made this. There's a very there's two Perturabos there, and he's the most inconsistently written Primarch, unfortunately. But when he's written well, there's flashes of him in the Solar War. What is the one? Angel Exterminatus, he's really good in that. There's flashes of the genius in him. It's hard to write Primarchs well as well, because you've got to remember that these guys are Albert Einstein, Newton, Shakespeare, all rolled up into one. These are geniuses as well, pretending to be human. And
to write them, you have to get into a mindset that would know a way to respond or deal with the situation that you're probably not equipped to think in that capacity. So,
like the lion doesn't pretend to be human. He doesn't pretend to be. And there is a conversation once where he berates Gulliman, like, why do you pretend to be like them? You are not. And Gulliman says, well, because what Gulliman's superpower, they will have Gulliman's superpower, but Gulliman's superpower is leadership, is empire building. And in order to do that, you have to be a person that people want to follow, not just, like, people followed Perturabo through fear. He would kill the messenger sometimes. Not just sometimes. He would kill the messenger. He literally does a few times. But so people followed Perturabo because they were scared of him. People followed Gulliman because they wanted to follow him. He was such an inspiring leader. Horus as well, by the way, an absolute inspirational badass. It's just you wanted to be in his shadow. And that's what Gulliman replies to the lion with. And the lion doesn't get it, because the lion is the closest to the emperor, the closest in mind to the emperor. He's just, no, I am me, and I am so far above these guys. I don't pretend.
And he has people that help him relate, not help him, but he has people who are.
He's the only Primarch that has to ask. Not the only. He's one of the few Primarchs that doesn't get humans, and sometimes in conversations you see the Lionel Johnson asking Zahariel, what do you think of this person? What did you think of the messenger? Not because he's trying to get inside Zahariel's mind, but because he genuinely wants a second opinion about what the message from the messenger is. He doesn't get humans on a level, just in the same way the emperor needs Malkador and the emperor needs Valdor. When you get to a certain level of being, you need someone who can relate things to you because you might be too far up the mountain to be able to see the shore, I think.
Nice analogy. Triple D says, this is a going back to the hobby side of things, or the game side, sorry. Triple D says, was GW right to focus detachments in the new Space Marine Codex on classic tropes from the first founding chapters? Or could they have been more creative and crafted some original ideas? If you could write one detachment, what would be its style and what would it do? So he's referring to the fact that we don't have, this is Raven Guard. This is Ultramarines. Or something.
Well, he said they are focused. They are.
Well, no,
kind
because
of-
the
Raven
detachment
Guard.
is that's what I think. That's what you're saying because we haven't because we're not explicitly saying what chapter they are. They've
Yeah.
instead focused in on the classic things for that chapter. So like Iron Hands is tough and dreadnoughts, and Raven Guard
Well,
is.
but it's not an Iron Hands
sneaky.
detachment. There's an Iron Hands-ish detachment. There's a Raven
Exactly.
Guard-ish detachment. There's a White Guards-ish detachment.
So I think
So
he's saying should they have been more creative with that, seeing as they weren't stuck to the. To
I'm
those
terrified
tropes.
whenever Games Workshop gets creative. The rules writers and the people there. I mean, these are minimum wage. They're whipped by their slave masters. Write a rule for this. Write a rule for Sigma. Write a rule. Bam, bam. Deadline. I'm terrified to let these guys get creative.
Stick to what you know, guys.
Yeah, I think one of the good things about the 10th edition codex, and there's many detractors and many this and then, but one of the good things about the new Space Marine codex is I remember being locked into a way of playing my Space Marines for years because they had a shitty thing and that's what they had and that's it. And that's all I could play until either a new codex came out or a new edition came out or whatever. That's gone now. So one of the great things about the 10th edition codex is there aren't Salamander players out there or Iron Hands players out there or other who are locked into this one thing and that's all they play for the next 2-3 years. Or they could play their black-coloured Space Marines red, but then people at the game store say, you're playing them as Blood Angels, that's taking the piss.
Yeah, I see.
And they get, at least anyone can play anything now.
Yeah.
And I think that's good because it's your 40k, they're your miniatures, it's your army, it's your money, it's your time. And any games, and you should be able to play with them however you want to play with them, regardless of the colour.
It was particularly, in fact, that was a particularly obnoxious thing with other armies that have got less established lore as well. It's like, if you want to have a cool colour scheme, Tau Sept or something, then they've got to play like this. Which is like, nah, that's... Space Marines, I've always felt a little bit precious about Space Marines because you choose a chapter based on the kind of Marines you want to play, but I guess it's also a very good thing that it's not like that as well. It's just the part of me that goes, if I want to play a fast melee, kill everybody with a big whirring blade, I'm going to play someone like Blood Angels or Black Templars. Although Black Templars actually manage, the one exception, they get to keep their identity somewhat, but
they kept their identity and they have all the Space Marine stuff.
And they get the toys,
as well.
Yeah.
Which is,
very good. Very good.
I mean, what's the right way and the wrong way? I don't know. And what would I do? I don't know.
And it will change. Changes every few years.
Yeah, it changes.
Everything that you think is gone forever. And that is why if you're a Tau player, don't throw away your drones, even though they're tokens at the moment, because you will be really sad in 12th edition when every drone has to be represented on the table.
Yeah.
Because it's a wound. Do you think this is Kev3475? Do you think Kev? How you doing, Kev?
I think that's Kev the Cook, and if it is Kev the Cook, he should change his name to Kev the Cook, not Kev3475.
Kev3475.
Then fine.
If you're not Kev the Cook, sorry. If you are, change your name now to Kev the Cook, and tell me what does Kev the Cook cook?
Food. He cooks food.
I love food.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew this about me. I really like food.
Do you?
Yeah, I keep it on the lowdown. But anyway, Kev the Cook or Kev3475 says, do you think the Lion is going to make a smaller version of his Legion or stick to chapters? Hang on. Let me read that again. Do you think the Lion is going to make... Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The Lion is going to make a smaller version of his Legion or stick to chapters? And what's his next big undertaking?
Yeah, because the sundering of the chapters happens after the fall of Caliban.
Yes.
So he didn't know.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of boys.
Yeah, the book, The Lion, Son of the Forest, which came out recently when he was re-released, is actually really good. I recommend. Good 8.5, 9 out of 10. It's a decent book. And by the end of the book, he's just found out that the Imperium still stands and the Emperor isn't dead.
Yeah,
because he doesn't know what's going on. So he's gonna find out by the Risen because you have the fallen, the risen. He's going to find out about the sundering of the chapters and all the rest of it. And So where will he go? He's the lion. The lion, I imagine that the lion and Guilliman didn't see eye to eye in most things, but they were both 100% loyal.
Yes.
It's like, just because they both want a strong, unified Imperium, they both definitely want that. Both of them will have different ways of going to achieve that. One of them will want to use loads of high explosives and technology from the hidden age of darkness. The other one would like to do spreadsheets and chat and do some Skype calls and things like that. So they've both got their own different methodologies. I think the lion, it would be more in keeping with the lion's character and it would feel purer if the lion was quite vociferous about reforging, rejoining, rebuilding a legion, his legion. When the heresy first kicked off, and the lion found out about it, because he was pulled into the Thramas crusade, kept him somewhat isolated and out of the way. It's like Horus said, hey, Night Lords, go over there, lead him on a wild dance. There's a bit quite early on when he joins up with these Death Guard, and some Shattered Legion are going at it and in this system, and he flies straight in between the two enemy fleets and said, whoever fires at me, fire back. And he's in Legion strength. And then goes to the planet, pacifies everything, kills everything, returns it to the Emperor stuff, and then summons the two leaders, like the Death Guard guy and the other guy, to his ship. And he says to one of them, you go tell Horus to go F off. You go tell Guilliman to go F off. Yeah. I'm doing my own thing. I'm doing this, and I will rebuild the Imperium. And you're like, what? The lion let the bad guys get away? But at the start of the heresy and the fog of war, he didn't know who was loyal. He didn't know who was traitor. He assumed, rightly so, that not all the traitors were traitors. Some of them were loyalists, and not all the loyalists were loyalists, rightly so, because some of them it was all a bit grey at the beginning. He's got his own way of doing things. He should try to rebuild it. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with the line. There's some really good and interesting narrative that you can do there, and I hope they give it to ADB or Dan Abnett or Chris Ray or someone like that to write, rather than it comes out of a codex somewhere, because then it'll be bad. Mind you, some of the lore in some of the recent codexes was quite good, and the Dark Omens series was much better than the Cadian Falls, the Cadian Gates was much better. Gathering Storm, Dark Omens was much better than Gathering Storm, so it was much but I'd rather give it to someone who does it for a living, who sits and stares out of the window for long hours and then occasionally taps on the keyboard. Give it to one of them.
It's a little bit odd, isn't it? Because it's like, if you've got a load of customers in your restaurant and you're going to serve them food, you wouldn't get the guy who doesn't know how to cook food to cook the food, right?
Yeah.
I think someone's lost the memo somewhere that writing is a skill.
Yeah.
That not many people possess in a good way. You know, there's a lot of people write, but not a lot of people write well. And even less so write with something, an extra spark behind it. Someone needs to just tell them, writers should write.
Writers should write. Yeah.
Chefs should cook. Kev the cook should cook.
Yeah. He's a cook.
Not Kev the gardener. He
not Kev 3, 4, 5, 7. No. Yeah.
Kev the gardener will make sure that all your rhubarb plants grow big, delicious rhubarb. Whereas Kev the writer, he might kill them all off. If everyone does the thing that they can do, we'll have better results.
Yeah. Rhubarb grows everywhere anyway.
It does. Yeah, rhubarb is a terrible example. It's really easy to grow.
Yeah. Orchids, however.
Yeah, orchids, very difficult.
Yeah.
You need special food, lots of love and attention, and they're weird. They're weird things, orchids. Simply Warhammer has got another question.
He's already had one.
Okay.
Unless it's good.
I'll leave it. No, this is a long one. I'll leave it pinned, and we'll do it next time.
Well, I'm seeing him tomorrow. He can ask me face to face.
It's about Mortarion being a psyker.
Is it?
Yeah, because he hated psykers. Then I'll read it. Mortarion hated
Psychers, then became a Psyker.
Yeah, it's that old question.
Why? Because he's got demons inside of him, and he's an avatar of Nurgle. That's why. And Nurgle and the warp psychic stuff. He really, 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 really resisted. He was the last one to turn, and he turned just on the eve of the solar wall as well. But he turned, and he's got a little bit of demon in him now.
Yes,
he's the chosen avatar of Nurgle, so he's a Psyker because that's what happens.
Simply Warhammer also puts at the end, is the 40k version of Demon Mortarion a Psyker just for gaming purposes? Perhaps.
No, it's because he is him.
Because he is
yeah.
There you go.
Because all demons are Psykers except for Khorne.
Yeah.
They
really hate Psykers. But what Khorne do have is Blood and Skull Harvesters, the new demon engines coming to a Games Workshop near you. The Blood Harvesters, they grind people up, and they've got a big portal to Khorne in the back, and the blood squirts into it and rains down in the realm of Khorne.
Basket of skulls on the back.
Khorne, then the Skull Harvester does that, and they're coming out soon, so keep an eye out for the...
Because they watch the podcast, they know they're stealing our ideas. The other thing that Khorne has is flakes.
Yeah, they do, yes. Yeah. Delicious flakes. Sullivan Gilbert, why do red ones go faster?
Because they're red. The end.
The end. We're nearly out.
Every good orc knows that. Red ones go faster. Why? That's because they're red.
Yeah.
Obviously. This one goes faster. Why? It's red.
It's red.
Done.
Red ones do go faster.
It's red.
We've got two questions left.
Okay.
One is a lore question. One is a question about hobbying.
Oh.
Let's go with the lore. Let's go with the hobby question, and we'll finish on a little lore question relevant to what we've been talking about. So, Stephen X, what do you do if you've lost motivation to paint for the time being, and your pile of hundreds of dollars of plastic is staring at you, judging?
Okay.
My advice is plastic doesn't really judge you. There is no such thing as a pile of shame. It is a hobby, and if you're not feeling it, there is nothing. There's absolutely zero reason. There's no peer pressure. There's nothing out there that means you should hobby if you don't want to do it. It is purely for your own enjoyment. And if you're not enjoying it, don't do it. And if you never find that enjoyment, you can sell your plastic pile. But hopefully you will find that motivation, and you will be excited, and you will want to be part of it. But never hobby if it's a burden, if it's making you feel bad, or if it's worrying you, if it's giving you anxiety that you've got too much plastic crack, sell some of it. And if you still have it with only a small amount left to paint, maybe it's not your thing, the painting side. But maybe buy an army that's pre-painted if you just want to play. Ask a friend to do it. Commission someone to do it if you can afford it. And if you can't, most people will play with grey plastic. You won't be able to come to an event with grey plastic. But down the games club, I think most people will say, yeah, I'll play against you. Great plastic. I won't personally. I'll aggressively tell you to do one.
Yeah.
And I will judge you. And everything I just said applies to everyone, except for if I'm judging you, I will think terribly of you for not painting your pile of shame, and shame on you. Shame on you. You agree with that, Winters?
You said no shame, and then you ended it with shame. I'm so conflicted. There is no shame. Everything you said was wise, except for the shame part at the end or at the beginning.
You know what? I gave a bit of...
No, you're right. I don't get... Another thing you could do is completely... Maybe what's happening is you're putting too much effort, too much detail, too much stuff into the line that you're painting and the miniatures that you're doing, and what you really want is to have a whole painted army on a table and now the paint scheme that you've picked, or the armor that you picked, is taking you so long. It's like, okay, this takes me 20 hours to do this one guy, and so to get a 2,000 point list together is going to take me 3 years. Maybe that's part of it. And so it's such a high mountain to climb. Another way around it is to start a new project, get another new pile of same, and learn the power of speed painting, of spraying something red or black or this, that, and the other. Like the Necrons that I did, nearly 10,000 points of Necrons in a year. I started that from the ground up because I wanted a new force, and I wanted to see how many I could get done in a year. So I had a goal as well, and it's all speed painted, and they all look gorgeous. Particularly gorgeous as the bases are from March of War or Code UK. So it doesn't matter how speed painted my stuff is, because they're on these gorgeous bases. The army does look really, really striking. So maybe I'm not sure, but maybe part of the problem is the stuff that you want to paint is too much.
Some people are painters and they want to paint.
You come to a point in your hobby life that it ain't that grabs you anymore. Instead, it is the spectacle that grabs you. And get to the spectacle as quick as you possibly can. Sorry to interrupt. Go.
No, I'm totally there on the spectacle. I would spend a long time painting, right? Painting as best as I can.
Yeah.
And I'd get to the end of it and I'd be like, I painted the best I can. And I'd realise that my painting skills are not like Golden Demon level.
They're good though. You're solid, man.
Well, that's what I mean. All you need to do is when you pick something, work out a scheme you can do. Keep it simple, and the spectacle makes up for a lot of the individual like speed painting is fantastic. When everything's together, a lot of things will be forgiven.
Yeah.
Like you won't notice, I didn't edge highlight every panel or something. When there's 40 guys charging across the table and the lighting's always off in it, the lighting's never the same. You can't see the models half the time. You're standing feet away from it. There are ways to get to the end product without having to create this awful challenge for yourself. And I literally have turned around and I said, like with my Black Templars, I said, I can't edge highlight all the black. I've done it. I did it on a unit of Deathwatch. I edge highlighted 2 layers of a grey and then a lighter grey on every single panel on a squad of Deathwatch. It took me about 6 days to do.
Pain.
And at the end of it, I thought, I can't see this when I'm standing any further away from that. When it's not a photo on my phone that's close up with lighting everything. When it looks fantastic. I was really proud of my work. I think it looked really good. I've done it really neatly. But apart from that, no one even sees it or knows it's there. Right?
Yeah.
It wasn't worth it. So for my Black Templars, I figured out a really quick scheme of doing making sure that all the edges were dry brushed very bold white. Mm-hmm. Then I coated the whole thing in Black Templar, and just enough came through on the edges so that it wasn't a flat black armour. And everyone who's seen it said, they look great, man. They look great. And they're speed painted. I know I could do much better if I wanted to, but I finished the whole army and I feel so much better.
How long did it take you, whole army?
I did it from the 1st of January and I finished on the last day of January. So it took me 1 month playing, sort of painting a couple of times a week, and I just went through it. I set up units, got them all ready, painted them, went through the detail, got really into it. Took me 1 month and I painted a 2,000 point army. Great. Speed
painting 101 looks gorgeous. Another thing that helps armies really pop, I've said it 7 times, I'm going to say it again, but resin bases, again, marchwar.co.uk or Den of Imagination or anywhere, but resin bases is something that, I think it's the first few events that I went to, I started seeing them more and more and more and more and more, and then when I started using them, it makes up for a lot. It makes up for a lot.
Necrons are quite a basic model anyway. Like they're not massively detailed. They've got a gun, they've got their bits and pieces, and I think the base really gives more to a Necron warrior.
Well, I've done resin bases on the Emperor's Children, resin bases on the Raven Guard. They're next door, otherwise I'd show you one, but it just makes up for a lot of speed paint. Your army can be like my Raven Guard, they're slap chop. So spray black, dry brush grey, because black is not black. This is what a lot of people think, that if you painted something black, you wouldn't be able to see black is a brown or a blue or anything. So dry brush grey, then I dry brush the very highlight areas of white, pick out all the details, and then I put Nuln Oil on it. And so my Raven Guard are dark grey to black in all the shadows, because you don't dry brush down it, and the white on the edges, and put them on these gorgeous bases, and they look crisp. I'm really pleased with how they came out. I put about half as much effort into the Raven Guard as I did with the Emperor's Children, but the Raven Guard looks so much better than the Emperor's Children do.
And I'll tell you what, if you don't know what slap chop is, go and look it up on YouTube.
Oh yeah, YouTube slap chopped them.
Slap chop is a massive game changer.
It'll change your life. It'll change your life. I'm
I've-
going to do a video at some point on how I painted the Raven Guard and just show off some slap chop techniques real quick.
I painted a full. So I want to play Middle Earth Strategy Battle Game, another Games Workshop game, and I got the Mordor army, and I slap chopped the orcs, and they look really great because they're quite small and very textured models. They work really well.
Well, I played a bit of the Blood Bowl.
Yes.
I played a bit of Blood Bowl recently with Alex SEO, and he slap chopped all his Blood Bowl armies. They look stunning.
Yeah, just do it. Just do slap chop.
Yeah.
We should play a game of Blood Bowl at some point because
we could.
I might be able to beat you at Blood Bowl. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. There's 2 questions left. It was actually 3 before.
Okay.
First, my favourite question of the night from Tomo91. Which bad guy is really the good guy? And which good guy is really the bad guy?
Stylus Sultan.
Yeah, well, actually, that's actually 100% true. But in the world of 40k, that is spot on, by the way.
Okay.
You'd have to work out which way round is which. But
Khan.
What, Khan's really the good guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a bad guy, but he's really the good guy. He's doing all he can, making he held that legion together after Angron turned up.
I think it'd be too easy for me to try and shoehorn Sevatar into that, but Night Lords are a bit more complicated than bad guy, good guy.
Sevatar could be. Yeah,
could
bad
be.
guy is really a good guy.
But they do.
Sevatar, the really cool bad guy characters tend to be a bit good guy, have a bit of good guy in them.
Yeah.
Which good guy is really a bad guy? I don't know. I'd have to think more on that. But Sevatar Khan, yeah.
Good guys
Argyle
or bad
Tal.
guys is it's a great question, but I think we've run out of brain steam because I'm going to think about that one, and I think we might come back to it. I'm going to stew on it between
bad
now
guy
and the next
to good
one.
guy. I mean, Argyle Tal is a possessed, so he's a bad guy, but he's really a good guy. So there you go. I put Sevatar and Argyle Tal.
Okay, and then we'll think of a good guy who's actually a bad guy.
But the real answer is Stylus and Sultan.
Yeah. Oh, final question. This is for
Law, you said.
Make sure I say this.
Thing?
No, I just wanted to make sure I say this right. It's Baggiest Bilbo 4. Baggiest Bilbo 4.
Sweet handle, mate.
Yeah. I love it. Why do you think Ferris and Pert, which was did you ask permission if you could call him Pert? Why do you think Ferris and Pert weren't closer despite being so similar?
Oh,
now I posited.
Ferris. Go on.
I said right. Well, we'll let the Big Don answer that one, but I think it's just because they had different fundamental. They were similar. They had similar ideas, but fundamentally they had completely different ways of approaching them. That's where I started, but you obviously have a much more nuanced thought about it.
My mind immediately went to Ferris. It was mainly Ferris Manus's fault, really, because he wasn't close with anyone except Fulgrim, and only grudgingly, because he made him a really lovely sword. Well, he made Firebrand, and he made the hammer. Ferris Manus, he was one of the very few Primarchs that didn't unify his planet and his system before the Emperor turned up. They were still all fighting each other because Ferris Manus believed that dissent and competition made things better, better warlords, better things. Like I think we've spoken about it on the ASTC before. Like his inner chamber on his flagship, forgot the name of the flagship all of a sudden, but it was called the Council of Dissent. He would get his Iron Fathers together, chapter masters to you and me, to debate each other. We're going to do this. So he really liked disagreeing with people, even in his own legion, even on his own planet. And when the Emperor turned up and said, "Hey, you're coming with me," he said, "No," and they had a massive fight and knocked down mountains and drained seas and blah, blah, blah. Ferris Manus was a uniquely disagreeable individual, perhaps more so than Perturabo. Perturabo was just petty. Perturabo was an arsehole. But Ferrus Manus didn't like anyone. Ferrus Manus believed that competition, disagreement, and that was the way to go. That it is through hammering the metal that makes it iron. You have to temper that iron, the iron 10th. And of course, his personality would have just thumped up against Perturabo all the time, and because Perturabo was it's my way or the highway kind of stuff. I don't think they probably said a cordial word to each other. Ferrus Manus is also one of those Primarchs that before the heresy would openly say, I hate that brother, pointing at a brother over here or a brother over there.
Yeah.
Whereas some of the others try to at least get on with each other. So and on top of that, Perturabo, did anyone really like him? Any of his brothers? He was part of his, like I said, we talked about the inconsistency in his writing, but let's just look at the good side of his writing. He is a genius, an absolute genius, who could build machines that rivaled the other great forge masters. It was him, Vulcan, and Ferrus. He could rival them. He's an absolute genius as well, but part of his story is, hey, look at me. I shouldn't be as overlooked as I am, and that built up lots and lots and lots of resentment in him. But yeah, it's mainly Ferrus Manus' fault, because he thought everyone was an arsehole, even Horus. So they didn't get on with each other because Ferrus Manus didn't like anyone, and he only just sort of liked Fulgrim a bit. And Fulgrim thought, oh, we're best of buddies. Look, he likes me. He hates all of you arseholes, but he's my best friend. I'll go over there and I'll tell him, hey, look, we're doing this Horus heresy type thing. We're going to have a rebellion. It's great. Come and join us. And he had a chat with Ferrus about it. And Ferrus was like, you what, mate? What are you? One, do you really think we're that friends? And two, you're an arsehole. And three, Fulgrim was gutted by it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So some could say that he lost his cool, or, lost his head.
Badum-tish.
I've got something's in my mouth.
Is it your beard?
It's a bit of beard or something, yeah.
But if it's not your beard, is it another kind of hair from
somebody else's beard,
body part?
Someone else's beard. Anyway, you know what? I think we've done all the questions. We've done them. The words and everything.
We did them.
We've reached the end. Now, here's a trick.
Right.
If someone is skipping to the end now to see if we're going to say about the brick,
we haven't. We're not.
You missed the. Well, yeah, we're not. Yeah, you just carry on. We're not doing it this time.
No, we'll find the true followers.
Yeah.
Don't even mention it. The true followers who are still here, they know.
They know.
They know.
But
the
again,
ones who skip to the
secret club. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Are you in the secret club? There'll be a there'll be a written test coming later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should start doing things like we did today that we didn't do. Sorry, that we didn't do today. I think we should keep mixing it up, and we'll slowly whittle down the club until we've got the true inner circle.
That's a good idea. Look at you bursting with good ideas.
I'm so full of energy.
You're so full of it. You're full of it.
Demon engines that I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know what? Let's go. I'm going to go to bed. It's late o'clock at night.
Is it?
It's not that late, but I'm going to actually. You know what? I'm going to go paint an orc.
Okay. Have fun.
Thank you for hanging out with us for however long, an hour and 40 minutes.
That was a long one. This one.
It's a long one. We had lots to say. We had lots of questions. We built that one up, and we'll come back and see you soon, and it'll be great, and we'll all have a big laugh and talk about all the things that have happened, and it'll be great. So
thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Happy wargaming.
Happy bye. Everybody.
Oh, we wait. Well, bye everybody. Bye.
Some guy.
Do I press a button now?
I pressed the button. But
you press the button.
Someone said in the comments last time that our fade outs. Yeah, okay.
What about our fade outs?
I'm just gonna.
You can't leave.